rock my boat, 'cause I don't want my boat to be rocking.
All right, good morning. Special good morning to our early risers tuned in to CVM at sunrise. It's Wednesday, January 10, Man's World Wednesday, and that image you saw at the start is the view heading down Tom Redcombe Avenue and Old Hope Road toward Crossroads. Still dark outside, the water is coming down, and water is also settling on the road. There's a slick on most of the roads, so please be careful. Special good morning to you all. I am Raymond Pryce.
And I am Mario Evon. Top of the morning to you all, tuning in online and on social media. Welcome to CVM at Sunrise.
Welcome to CVM at Sunrise, where, if you stay tuned to us, what we speak about today actually happens tomorrow. Because yesterday morning we had the guests from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM. It's Earthquake Awareness Week. And one of the officers, Joyce, the information officer, says that earthquakes typically happen in this region in January. But before we started the interview, I distinctly remember saying to her, Mario, and to David Nation, do either of you have goat mouths?
Somebody have goat mouth.
But she said she did. But hope,
she have goat mouth?
Yes, Joyce said she has goat mouth, but hope it wouldn't happen. Well, Joyce,
Joyce have the
you
goat
have
mouth.
goat mouth for true.
Joyce have goat mouth.
7.8 magnitude earthquake last night in the very zone that we spoke about between the coasts of Honduras and the Cayman Islands. 7.8, and to top it off, Jamaica was placed, at least for some time through the night, on a tsunami watch.
Let me tell you, I saw that right before I went to bed, you know. You know what people are seeing when they hear tsunami watch, right? The waves and madness, right?
The waves is typically what happened in 2004 and what happened in Japan sometime after that. That's what has become now the fear and the image of tsunamis.
And if you're a National Geographic watcher, you see all of these videos on tsunamis. I was happy. I was on top of a hill, so I was like, well. Yeah,
but you know, I want to say to the authorities, particularly the mayor of Kingston and St. Andrew, that through the moment it came out from the international press, we started to see tweets from the mayor of Kingston and from the Most Honorable Prime Minister as well. But the mayor in particular, I'm not so sure if it was hourly, but there were a series of tweets, and the one that I looked for the most and celebrated the most was when he said the tsunami watch had been cancelled. But guess what? I don't live in Kingston.
Right.
I don't live in Kingston.
Right.
And it would have struck the northwest coast of the island first. So it would have come through
Montego Bay,
Negril, White House. So we're going to look on some of the tweets and the images that came up through the night.
I was impressed with how regularly they kept us updated, though, even though it was via Twitter. But at that hour, Twitter works.
No, that's another point.
Yeah.
How many persons are on social media? Full stop.
Full stop.
And how much people are on social media at that time? In other words, how many people don't have lives that they're up at night tracking what's
happening. So we're grateful for the tweets,
media.
but at the same time, if it was catastrophic, maybe people wouldn't have known.
Many people would not have heard. Many people would not have heard. So we are also going to throw to the interview we had yesterday. So.
Okay, 19 News Alert just coming in. Information about an earthquake in the Caribbean.
Phil Farrow has more for us. Phil, where is this and what do you know?
All right, so let's get to it right away. Here's the map behind me, and we have a very strong earthquake that has hit the middle of the Caribbean Sea there at a depth of 21 miles, magnitude of 7.8. Anything over 5 is capable of some destruction. Fortunately, again, this is over open water. However, we are getting reports from Reuters that there is a tsunami advisory in effect for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Now, this is actually farther away than the actual epicenter of this earthquake. I am sure if there is a tsunami, areas that would get impacted first would be the Cayman Islands and Jamaica, as well as southern Cuba. Now, the USGS, the Geological Survey of the United States, says that there's no tsunami danger for the Gulf Coast and Florida. That is great news, but repeating, this very strong earthquake that has impacted the middle of the Caribbean Sea there, 7.8. According to Reuters, there is a tsunami advisory in effect for Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. As we get more here at the Weather Center, we'll pass it along to you. That is the very latest. Back to you guys.
So for the viewers who are just waking up, who did not stay up as we did and as our team, we'd like to say thanks to our production team for all of the updates through the night and for bringing us these bits. This was last night. So fret not thyself. This was last night, and the tsunami watch had eventually been cancelled.
Right.
But you're a medical doctor.
Yeah.
So can I tell you that you might have had an emergency call to respond to?
Let me tell
because
you
see, when I heard that clip last night, and they said that there's a watch for the U.S. Virgin Islands and for Puerto Rico, and that the Gulf Coast states were not under threat, they said the first countries that would have been affected by the tsunami, Cayman Islands. So when they said and Jamaica, dead. D-D-E-D-D.
This is probably the first time I've ever heard of a tsunami watch for Jamaica. I mean, in my time at least.
Well, you did have to add in your time, Pat, because after the Haiti earthquake, as we discussed yesterday too,
right,
there was a tsunami watch for Jamaica and Cuba. And by the way, that fault line, the planting garden, something else fault line, we'll get that up later in the program, goes right through if Jamaica had a spine.
That would be right in the spine.
Right in the spine.
Couldn't run from it.
We would just have to quake. All right, so there's one of the tweets from the mayor of Kingston. All persons in flood-prone and low-lying areas to stay tuned to the media for updates. A tsunami warning has been issued for Jamaica, and Kingston is expected to be affected. And those tweets started within moments of the earthquake and continued.
See, that was 10:36 p.m.
That was 10:36 p.m. last night, and that's the thing, because so there is a press release, a press advisory that came out. And this is one from the PM, which says the current model suggests no imminent threat to Jamaica. Updates will continue at OddPem. And we start following OddPem on Twitter. So there's a point I always wonder about, Mario, especially during times like these and during the hurricane season. How many of us remember longitude and latitude readings or how to interpret them? And there are bits of information that are critical in situations like this. So there is a press advisory that came out as to the actual arrival times that were there to have been a tsunami, they would have had impact on the following cities. And the first part of Jamaica that would have been impacted is Montego Bay, 18.5 degrees north and 77.9 degrees west, and it would have come, and the time is given right there.
UTC.
ETA UTC time, what does that mean to our citizens? And then it would have continued on to Kingston. So my suggestion has always been, when the local authorities get this information, do the translation.
Right.
And say, for example, if it hits Montego Bay at 1 a.m., 15 minutes later, it would affect White House in Westmoreland. And 15 minutes after that, Black River, or, you know...
Right, how do you translate it in a way that we understand?
I
never saw the UTC, so I thought it was...
Yeah, so
I thought it was 3 a.m.
No, it wasn't 3 a.m. at all, and that's the thing, because then first you're fretting, let me be honest, first I am fretting, and then you have to go remember, no, longitude, latitude, all right. Then you start to tremble through your Google, and then you have to know, okay, what kind of time are we on,
right,
you know, and stuff like that. So these are areas, and I want to thank OddPem, and really now more than ever, I'm going to be paying attention to this year's Earthquake Awareness Week. I'm not so sure if my good friend Joyce has to be the one to give me the information, since she's Accurate Plus.
I may actually ask Joyce for other advice, because she might be good at that.
She might be good at that as well. So, you know, luckily, no reports of any injuries anywhere, and we were not affected. But this is information that we should always have at the back of our heads, that we live in an earthquake, a very seismic active zone. So those were where the waves were possible if the tsunami had actually occurred, and in the sequence it would have happened. There you go with the Cayman Islands, and right after the Cayman Islands, Jamrock.
Well, it's good to know that we're in this season because, you know, a lot of us just think that there are a series of catastrophic events that's happening because the world is going crazy, which I still kind of believe. But, but we are in this season.
No, I don't need any more doomsday prophets, Mario. Please, please, please. All right, so now time for things that make you go, Things that make you go, Things that make you go, Hey. Things that make you
go, So in Hong Kong and Japan, McDonald's has a doors are always open policy. People who can't afford a place to live take advantage of the policy and live in McDonald's. Because of this, they are called Mac refugees.
In which country?
Japan, Hong Kong.
Oh, well, McDonald's didn't quite make it here.
It made it.
It came, but
it was on Constant Spring Road, but at some point, no, the McDonald's never did good in Jamaica.
It didn't, no.
I wonder why. The burgers, they were kind of small. There was a bag of things going on. But
one was at Cargill Avenue, which is now Tasties.
Yeah, that works.
And it was originally, God, dating myself again. Back in the day, there was a restaurant there called McDonald's that had nothing to do with the international franchise.
That McDonald's is still there.
That McDonald's is still there.
That's
the Jamaican McDonald's
on Halfway Tree Road.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I think
no, it's not a patty store. Yeah, they were in a lawsuit about the name of
It's not a patty store. It's a Tasties. It's a Tasties.
Patty never fail in a Jamaica. Never.
Never does. Next one up. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station see 15 sunrises and 15 sunsets a day, averaging one every 45 minutes.
I would go start crazy.
The astronauts must really love CVM at sunrise to be seeing it 15 times a day.
I would go crazy. Get emotional. You must be emotional seeing that many sunrises and sunsets.
I don't know. I don't think, listen, a gravity-less environment, no, not for me.
According to research, daydreamers are better at solving complex problems. That doesn't make me go that much because I feel like people who daydream think things through in their mind all the time. So they're ready, they're prepared. That makes perfect sense.
That goes counter to everybody that always says, stop daydreaming. You're solving complex problems.
So keep daydreaming.
Keep daydreaming then. Those are things that make you go, Things that make you go, All right, so the quote of the day, train your mind to see the good in every situation. And the author is unknown. Words to live by. The author is unknown. Some of us have a theory that when you see unknown, it's because our production team doesn't want to take credit for their good work.
Somebody around there coming up with this stuff, right?
Yeah, really bright sparks around there.
Coming up in the show today, we'll hear from Jampro Trade and Invest and the opportunities available.
Also, we'll be talking about digital awareness with the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica.
We'll get the details on Rebel Salute 2018 as this weekend.
Yeah. And in our Man's World segment, we speak about masculinity. What does it mean? And how does one achieve it? And those and more when we return from the break. Welcome back to CVM at Sunrise. Earlier this week, we had a colleague from the Office of the Children's Advocate as we examined the use of social media to combat child abuse and other impacts that social media can have on our children. We're about to expand that conversation. We have Don Dobson from the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica as we outline the importance of getting our society, and in particular, our children and those who care for them, digitally aware. Morning, Don.
Morning.
And welcome to CVM at Sunrise.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we had Latoya from the Office of the Children's Advocate on, and we dissected some of the issues, or attempted to dissect some of the issues affecting the home and the spaces within which we raise our children. And we agreed that there is the unseen but ever-present social media and the impact it has. How can the BCJ assist?
Well, what we have been doing is emphasizing media literacy. Now, as you would be aware, our main responsibility is to regulate broadcast radio, free-to-air television, and cable services. However, from as early as 2010, 2011, we recognized that persons were migrating to the online space. Consequently, we started a program where we went into schools, we engaged PTAs, we engaged the universities, looking at ways that we could build the capacity of our people to think critically about the media they consume.
Right.
In terms of questioning the message, who created the message, who stands to benefit from it, who paid for the message in terms of following the money trail, looking at the purpose of the message. Is it to entertain, inform, educate? Is it to influence my behavior in such a way that will be to the benefit of someone else? Is it to shape my opinion for the benefit of someone else? And in addition to that, we looked at getting persons to think critically also of how they use the devices, the technology. Why am I recording this? Why am I sharing this? What are the consequences of doing so? And in the case of parents, we looked at building their capacity to detect and respond to some of the issues, the sexting, the cyberbullying, the internet addiction. And so this engagement takes the form of presentations. We go into the schools, we go to the PTAs. It can range from half an hour to an hour. Dynamic audiovisual presentation looking at the issues. And the next step for us is to create a virtual academy.
Right.
Because while we have visited, say, for instance, over 100 schools in the past 4 years, that's really a drop in the bucket. So we need to have a way that persons can access us, because we won't be able to physically go to every school and every PTA meeting.
Right.
And that's where the virtual academy comes into play, an online educational platform which will look at the different aspects of media literacy and teach it in a fun, creative way.
Right.
What would you say are some of the major threats affecting your children?
Well, based on the engagement, I would say sexting is a big deal.
Right.
You want to give our audience a definition of sexting,
Well,
S-E-X-T-I-N-G?
Sexting would involve the sharing of sexually explicit visuals and messages, and it can also involve the messages that are very detailed in terms of sexual fantasies or things that persons would want to engage in. In terms of the videos and pictures, we see that the young persons are still engaging in this. We try to warn them that things can easily spiral out of control, way beyond they ever imagined. When you're young, you sometimes operate on impulse.
And you don't appreciate the impact it'll have down the line.
Exactly.
I always tell people, don't mess up your Oprah interview. And it's a funny line, but the truth is that they don't realize that down the line everything comes back out, as we see right now.
Exactly. And we show them videos, real-life scenarios. We look, for instance, at the digital footprint. As you said, young persons are living in the present. And even some adults as well, so it's not all on the young people.
No.
And we show them how recently about 10 students were expelled from Harvard because of some images they shared online.
Right.
No, they're actually expelled before they even started.
Right, they were prevented from matriculating.
Exactly.
And got accepted, but then when the further research was done, their digital personalities were interviewed, if you will, and they were prevented from registration.
And we use that as an example. You work hard all your life to get into one of the best universities in the world, and then just like that, you throw it away because of some images you had on social media.
Right. If you could give a definition of media literacy, what would that definition involve?
It would be, I would say, media literacy in a nutshell is the ability of someone to analyze and understand media, and as a consequence is able to make informed choices about what media they use, how they use it, and how they harness the power for their benefit.
Well, all right. So in the conversation we had with the Office of the Children's Advocate through Latoya, and you have mentioned it as well, that sometimes content is inappropriate for children. Are there digital tools that a broadcasting commission or the telecommunications sector can provide to assist parents with? I give the example. If I wanted to go on YouTube and view some of Madonna's early work, it would say that this content is blocked for your area.
Or age restricted sometimes.
Yeah.
But if, and I'm an adult, so if a child attempted, the child would see the same thing.
Yes.
But if a child wanted to view some of our own creative products from whichever genre of music from the region,
Okay.
not just from Jamaica, there is not that digital tab which prevents the content from being shown. How, in the first place, does that work, and why don't we have a process that scrutinizes content in a way that would do that, especially for children?
Well, firstly, what the parents would have to do is set up the parental controls. And that's something we emphasize in our presentations, and it will be a big feature of the Virtual Academy, because all the platforms, all the smart devices, the phones, the tablets, the gaming consoles, they have parental control settings that you can apply to restrict access to certain content and to restrict how they're used. So traditionally for cable and TV, you do your parental controls maybe by the program, by the ratings, by the time of day that the program would be broadcast. But with social media, you know, it's a setting. So even for YouTube, you can actually go in and, as a parent, for instance, you have purchased a tablet for your child. You can actually go into any of the browsers, the internet browsers, log into YouTube, adjust the settings to restrict certain content, for instance, adult content.
Right.
And then after that, only you will be able to change that.
Yeah, so that's where the parent actively does that.
Yes.
But in the example I've given, it was done by some other entity, because that very same YouTube platform, that very same device outside of the 876 area can access the content. So is there a way, I'm assuming there must have been a process that determined back in then, that period, Madonna and some other entertainers were not Jamaica ready, or Jamaica was not ready for them.
Well, I feel some of them aren't regulated by us per se, but I actually uploaded a video on YouTube with some soca content, and some people were dancing on YouTube actually.
Yes, so all of them, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, etc., they have their own settings and standards. The thing is, you can't necessarily depend on their standards.
Right.
You know, you have cultural differences as well. So what Facebook or YouTube deems inappropriate, or appropriate rather, maybe inappropriate or problematic for you.
Right.
So that is why we emphasize the user taking the initiative to set the parental controls, put them in place so as to restrict access.
Where's the Virtual Academy located?
Well, it will be an online platform.
Right.
We have completed the modules, several modules looking at, for instance, the media environment, traditional new media, issues to deal with convergence. We're looking at content creation, ownership and distribution, parental controls, a number of modules. But it has not yet been operationalized.
Okay, it's not yet operational.
So we're actually exploring some partnerships with companies as far afield as Ghana, to see how we can operationalize it in terms of the platform, the technology, and the content.
No, the other area I want to scope quickly is legislation. The legislation that we currently have, that's currently extant, would give the Broadcasting Commission the opportunity to intervene in about what estimate do you give of media? Because the legislation does not give you control over content that originates in the virtual world.
No. So our domain would be radio, broadcast radio, free-to-air TV, and cable services.
Which is about 7 to 10% of how people consume media now.
Well, Not necessarily so, because we have seen a shift from platforms to content. So it's really about content.
Okay.
So it's wherever you can get the compelling content. So if TV is where you can get CVM at sunrise, you watch TV. If you can get it on YouTube, you watch it on YouTube. And then the screens are also changing. So it's not just about the TV screen. You may be able to watch CVM at sunrise on your smartphone or on your tablet. So the emphasis for us is content regulation, because persons don't go on Netflix to watch a blank screen. They go to watch their favorite series. It's just that it's in a different form. They can binge watch, for instance. So it's still about content. We are restricted to certain platforms, and as a consequence, we have to empower the citizens to take more responsibility for their choices in the online space, which is unregulated for the most part and may very well remain so.
Final question. How do you respond to persons in the image industry, the creative industry, that view the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica as more of a hindrance than an aid?
No, we facilitate the creative community. In fact, we don't interfere with the creative process. So there have been instances where persons will call us and ask us to view content or listen to a song before they send it to the media house for a broadcast, and we will say, no, we don't prejudge. The regulations are there, we enforce the regulations. And it's not so much about taste, because that can vary from person to person. It's more so about harm. What's the cumulative effect of exposure to a certain kind of content over and over
time?
But we appreciate creativity, and it's something we encourage.
All right. Thank you very much, Don Dobson from the Broadcasting Commission of Jamaica, helping us to better approach media literacy and to help parents and caregivers to protect their children from inappropriate content. We are up on a break. Please stay with us. More CVM at Sunrise when we come back.
Since the start of 2018, we've been assisting our viewers by providing quality information related to building and expanding their own wealth portfolio. As part of that discussion, we've invited a colleague from Jampro Trade and Invest to assist those of us with an entrepreneurial spirit to become aware of the opportunities available to us through export. We welcome Claude Duncan, Vice President, Investment Promotion. Welcome, Mr. Duncan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good. And still early enough to say Happy New Year.
Yes, yes. Boy, the new year has started. I can't believe it's already 2 weeks into the new year, but we're all back at work and back at promoting the country.
Which is great. Will tell us a little bit about the mandate of Jampro. What is the mandate?
I guess you could say there are three real mandates. There is driving investments, so obviously we're responsible for all sectors of the Jamaican economy. So whether it be in tourism, business process outsourcing, agriculture, mining, we have sector teams that their responsibility are to go out there and drive investments, whether it be local or foreign. And then there's the trade side of things, which is growing exports out of Jamaica, whether it be growing in existing markets or expanding into new markets. And then the third role, I would say, is really business advocacy. So a lot of the improvements in the different rankings around competitiveness of an economy, like the Doing Business Report, the Global Competitiveness Index, etc., etc. We monitor those reports, and we work with different, you should be aware of the National Competitiveness Council. That is housed in Jampro. So we drive a lot of the reform that affects those different reports, because obviously that affects the other two areas that we spoke about, investment and trade. Correct.
To those persons who believe that Jampro is not for them, Jampro is for some undefined big man, big company.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think Jampro is for investments and Jampro is for trade. So if those are the areas you're operating in, we are for you. Do we do everything? I would say definitely not. If, from an investment standpoint, for example, if you have a project and you're looking for an investor, if that project isn't ready for investment, then we would point you to agencies that could help you get that project ready for investment, because we are not in the business of writing business plans, for example. So you may come forward, we sit with you, we look at what you're doing, and we may say, wow, this is not quite ready for us to put in front of potential investors. So you probably need to do a little more homework. So why not go down to JBDC, which is in the business of helping persons to further develop their idea, to proof the concept, to get things going. So there is a point, there's a role we play. Similarly in exports, if you are just coming up with the product idea, that you're saying, yes, we want to export this ginger sauce, but you haven't even begun to make it yet.
Right. That's early days.
That's early days. We take you when you're ready for export, and we hold your hand and carry it into the market and help you find customers for your product.
Right.
What would you say are some of the fastest growing industries for export?
For export.
For export, right.
Agriculture is hot.
By the way, it's very interesting to hear Jampro speak about agriculture, and that you start off with agriculture, because which is good. Perhaps an outcome of the merger with the Ministry of Industry and Investment with Agriculture and Fisheries.
Right. True. Yeah, but agriculture. If you look and you see the pronouncements, you'd have seen recently where Grace announced they're building a factory at Denby.
Yeah.
You'd have seen announcements by Jamaica Broilers. You have seen announcements by Caribbean Broilers, because there's a recognition that there is a lot of opportunities in agriculture. And that happens for different reasons, because as the dollar devalues, certain projects that probably didn't look feasible locally now become feasible, because the cost of importing it now is higher than the cost of production. Now, what that says is it opens a lot of opportunities, because if I have a 5-acre or 10-acre, if you look at the announcement that was when the article around Denby, it spoke about the fact that they will need contract farmers to get produce. So, because if you think of the export process, not everybody wants to be totally vertically integrated, meaning be the farmer, be the distributor, be the exporter. Because that takes a lot out of you. I have to grow the product, I have to warehouse it. So I take the risk of when I spoilage, etc. I have to export it and deal with the accounts receivable cycle of that export. No, if I want to just be a farmer, I can now sell it to Grace at Denby, collect my money, and go plant again. So they now take care of the rest of the supply chain.
When I saw that, I basically, if I was to do an editorial note or comment, it would simply have been, so finally, Denby realizes that it's a platform for the exchange of goods and services from the agricultural sector for money, so the commoditizing part of it. So before Mario comes back in, the question I have been asking, who is guiding? Because if you see the image that we normally see of Denby, that's very beautiful, that's very creative, with the gold bananas, the green cucumbers, and usually nuts or grains that will give you the black or chocolate or coffee beans. But that's not where beautiful images, but that's not where agricultural growth and wealth and success lies. Who's guiding the investment and the training of our minds of our farmers towards the 3 Gs, as I call them? One of which is ganja, the other is ginger, and go through the next one on another occasion.
I think there are different players in the ecosystem. So Minister of Agriculture is one of them. The Cannabis Authority is one of them. Jampro is one of them, and Jampro probably has the 360-degree view. When we're looking through the lens of the export opportunities we have identified. So that's one lens. So we would have worked with importers of fresh produce into Canada, into London, into the US. So we have an idea of where the demand is and where we should be ramping up production. The Ministry of Agriculture has the lens also from a land availability and what land is suitable for what. So obviously we have to now collaborate around based on the demand in international markets and what our land is good for. Right. How do we marry the two to make sure we can meet the international demand? And then there's the domestic demand. All right. So in addition to those three players, they're just the market forces. So when you have a player that comes in and says, we will be a consolidator. So we will buy every pound of onion that's produced. That changes the market dynamics immediately. Because if I'm a farmer and I'm growing product X, where I'm subject to the vagaries of the market versus I have a guaranteed supply contract where I can bet my bottom dollar that I will, when I reap, I supply. Yeah. So there are a lot of forces that shape how people view that asset, that land that they have, and the opportunities that they know grow.
In terms of export industry, you said agriculture was one. What are the close second, third, fourth? What's following up right behind?
Well, agriculture is huge, but obviously other export industries are mining. Mining is one. So if you look at with Gisco, a bauxite plant coming about, if you look at the export numbers, agriculture pales in comparison to minerals and mining, the mining sector. So
these are still some of our traditional ones, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it's growing. And food security, you have to look at agriculture through different lenses because there's a food security aspect. And there's a real opportunity. If you look at just the import substitution opportunity in terms of supplying our hotels. Because a lot of times when we do complain about us not getting enough of the dollar spent in tourism, part of it is that we do not have enough of the industry to supply the inputs to the tourism sector. Yeah. So, when you look at in any sector that's growing, there is you taking advantage of the opportunity within the sector or you being a supplier to the sector. And that applies in every industry. If you take the business process outsourcing industry as an example, I can either work in the industry, or there are a lot of people who have made a lot of good use of a lot of good opportunities, being opening daycare centers nearer to the operators, opening hair salons, providing lunch services.
Yeah. So there are many places that you can fall in the line, all around the line.
All around the line. When you put one building with 2,000 people, all of a sudden there's a whole suite of opportunities that evolve.
That's a classic example of once you build it, we will come, because the other services that need to be supplied will be there as well.
It's the same in St. Elizabeth with Gisco reopening. Yeah. If you remember when the bauxite industry closed, what you heard was every little bar, every little restaurant, every little... because the multiply effect is just tremendous.
Yeah. In terms of opportunities, what kind of facilities does JAMP have in place for market research in untapped areas?
We do. We have a whole unit called Business Analysis and Research. Because at the end of the day, if you think of a business, you're always trying to do two things. You're trying to maximize the opportunities right in front of you, but every opportunity have a lifetime, have a life cycle, a lifespan. So you're also trying to figure out what are the new emerging industries we should be playing in. And we are always taking a look at, so cannabis, Raymond mentioned, I mean, Jamaica is somewhat in its infancy, and I know you've been an advocate of the industry, but it is, it's one of those industries we have to be moving carefully, because other countries larger than us can do things without being slapped on the wrist. I mean, so as you know, there is a delicate how you evolve an industry. We're already under the microscope when it comes to banking. So if
you see, once you touch on that one, I could go for days, but we've out of time for this edition.
Right.
So we'll catch you up for the 2.0.
Yes.
All right, we're up on a break. More CVM at Sunrise. When we come back, do please stay with us.
Ever so often during CVM at Sunrise, we choose to highlight stories of persons leading positive initiatives within their communities. We're now joined by Fabian, Kimisha, and Shernette of the Justice Committee. Welcome to CVM at Sunrise.
Thank you.
What is the mission of your committee, and how have you gone about achieving the objectives of the Justice Committee?
Okay, the mission of the Justice Committee is to create job opportunity for young and attached youths, creating, fostering, and enhancing community development in the various communities.
And just for clarity, unattached youth, right? When we say unattached, we mean without parents. What do you mean by unattached?
Both parents and person having the aspect, yes.
So basically persons that don't have positive influences.
Exactly.
What drew you to the Justice Committee?
Well, it is, we share the same vision, because as a person, you'd want to see positivity around you for the community, for young people. So they say great minds think alike. And so I was moved to be a part of this initiative based on the fact that I am so passionate about education, children development, and for community building. Yes.
And Shernette?
Well, for me, I was asked to be a part of the committee by Mr. Dawson, and I went because I shared his vision, as she said, and being a person who was helped so much by committees like this, I think it was a good opportunity for me to assist in, helping other youths to become attached. Yes, so that's why I really want to be a part of it.
So Fabian, were you the one that youth helping youth, which is a great thing? Were you the one that formed the Justice Committee?
Yes, this movement is created out of the Justice of the Peace Office, which late last year to early 2017, there were some gangs and things, and the killing of children and women. Right. So it peeved me to get on board and select these persons to assist me.
So the Justice Committee has been in existence for under 2 years?
1 year.
1 year?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful.
Which community are you active in? Or which parish, if you prefer?
St. Catherine, and it is a number of communities.
So it's communities and its environs around.
Yes, exactly.
So we approximately about 7 communities within the small scope that we cater to.
Exactly.
We try to, get these persons to know that, hey, we are here, we want to make a difference, and we are here for change.
How do other young, because I know you speak of unattached youth, the 3 of you are still young. How do other young persons respond? For example, Shernette, when you go out and tell them about the initiative, what's the feedback?
Well, for me, most of them, they give a positive feedback because I'm a person in the community that they look up to. So when I tell them about it or invite them, they show much interest. And as I said, because I'm so influential to them, they will, come. And I said, I didn't get this where I am today by myself, but I acknowledge that I've been helped, and I just want to help others. Yes.
Kimisha, quickly just tell us some of the activities that you guys do and how you go about it. When are they done? What do you do?
All right, so we have treats for children. We also cater to our elderlies as well. We had a recent treat just yesterday for our elderlies as well. And before we do these stuff, we usually meet on a monthly basis to, pinpoint some of these things that needs to be done within the community. Whatever the needs are, we try our best to see how best we can get agencies on board to help us to cater to these needs. So it's we always try to find a way to keep on doing something positive. So there are times when we visit elderlies as well. We will talk with them and just make sure that they fit in into the...
How can persons watching, especially from the St. Catherine area, get in touch with the Justice Committee?
Okay, so we are based from Jones Avenue, but I'm located in the Fisheries Division, Fisheries area. So
that's in Twickenham Park.
Same Twickenham Park, right? So you can definitely get in touch with us there through Mr. Fabian Dawson as well as a Justice of the Peace. So as Shernit mentioned, very influential.
Don't bother mention Shernit again. She said that being as influential as she is, everybody goes there. I want to congratulate the three of you.
Thank you.
It's always inspiring when young people take this kind of initiative. And hopefully the news will include more of that inspiration that comes from our youth. We're up on the news now. CVM Live Morning Edition with Whitley Levy is next. We continue after the break. All right, welcome back to CVM at Sunrise. So as we pointed out yesterday morning, you have been with us and we spoke to the team from ODPEM, and this is exactly how that discussion was opened. Do you know what to do should an earthquake strike? Despite not suffering a major earthquake since June 7, 1962, Jamaica remains vulnerable to seismic activities. As such, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management will be coordinating the annual Earthquake Awareness Week from January 7 to 13. Joining us in studio are David Nation, Marketing Manager at ODPEM, and Joyce Robinson, who is the Information Officer also at ODPEM. Welcome, David. Welcome, Joyce.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, guys. So I'm going to start off with a little bit of mischief.
Sure.
None of you don't have goat mouth.
This one.
I don't.
Yeah, well, that one.
And even with that, you're here to address earthquake awareness.
I'm hoping the goat mouth is not working anymore.
Okay,
Listen,
good.
it's better to be safe than sorry.
And on
That's
that
fine.
note, so less than 24 hours after Joyce, the information officer at ODPEM, declared that she had a goat mouth, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck along the very fault zone about which we spoke later in that interview. So, you know, text leap mark that. We're going to invite ODPEM to come and we're going to really delve into the importance of earthquake and tsunami preparation and awareness. So that's later on in the week. But on to the good news.
I know, right? We won't be going under any tables or in any door jams here. Rebel Salute has become a staple on the live music events calendar, delivering a world-class roots show unlike any other, while promoting and preserving healthier aspects of reggae music. To give us details on what to expect, as well as the 411 on the new location, attorney at law and one of the directors of Rebel Salute, Jayuda Barrett, and one of the wonderful acts that will perform in this weekend, Evon, join us in studio. Welcome to CVM at Sunrise. Tell us about Rebel Salute.
Thank you for having me. Well, Rebel Salute is this weekend. It's the 12th and 13th of January. Well, we're in 2018, so Friday, Saturday. Two-day festival. We're at 25 years come this weekend. Wow. That's a huge deal for us because the festival itself is distinct from other types of party or celebrations as you would know it. You know, it's a festival that we do not promote the consumption of alcohol, and we definitely do not promote the consumption of meat. And so that by itself distinguishes the festival from everything else. And it has been very difficult over the last 24 years, really, to do something like that, because who parties without jerk chicken and festival? And who parties without red stripe beer? So to really reach 24 years after all of that, I mean, it's really awesome. And we're very proud to be here.
Tell us about the 2 nights, so Friday and Saturday. What can we expect?
Well, you can expect Siobhan on Friday night. Definitely.
Yeah, 2 nights, of course, we can't just go one day. Enjoy the show. I mean, after performing and focusing on my performance on Friday, I want to be at the show Saturday as well.
That's the best way to have it, eh?
Yeah, man, of course.
Oh, that's why you plan it, so that you do your work early.
Let them plan it, so we just give thanks for the planning. Work it out.
Well, certainly Rebel Salute is known to present the best in entertainment. And so, I mean, on Friday night, in addition to Siobhan, we'll definitely be having Third World. We'll be having Glacier Robinson on the Friday night as well, Agent Sasko. Cocotti, Tony Rebel himself, whose birthday is like a couple days later.
Notice Heavyweight Rockers.
Notice Heavyweight Rockers. And then, of course, we go over to Saturday, we'll be having Barrington Levy, Freddie McGregor, Queen Africa, and of course, I'm excited to see O'Neil Bryan.
Yep. Right.
I don't know if you know who that is. Elephant Man, Vibes Master, yes. So, whole host of artists. I'm sure it's going to be very awesome. You can't just come one night, you have to come both because the entertainment package is just great.
I love that even though it is promoted as a roots festival, like there's some people you haven't seen in a while. I saw JC Lodge in there.
Yes,
and I haven't
definitely.
seen a few people. That's kind of cool.
Definitely. Well, we are an all-inclusive type of festival. We bring artists that you would have known their songs as children, but you'd have never seen them before. Like I don't think I've ever seen Glacier perform before. I'm gonna see her now on the Friday nights. JC Lodge, I was listening to her when I was a child on the radio on RFM. I'm gonna see her now perform. So we do that, and of course we include all the current acts and some of the dancehall acts because we're, as I said, we're all inclusive. And we're trying to show everybody that, you know, we can come together on one stage to preserve the healthy aspects of culture and our music.
Well, one of the things about Rebel Salute is, I don't know if you've used a tagline, but I bill it as the most authentic Jamaican festival.
Yes.
And it's not just about the music, as you rightly say, it's about the lifestyle.
Yes.
So the people who come in terms of your vendors and everybody else. So when you decided to move it from St. Elizabeth, part of the appeal for me back then was to drive down to St. Elizabeth to be a part of the experience. And I was a little bit of a sort of a backslide from the movement when it went over to St. Anne, which has now been for what, 5 years?
5 years, we're going into our 6th year. Well, if I should address what you said before, you're not the only one, you're not alone in that, with that thought. A lot of people like the trek to St. Elizabeth, the long drive, going into a place where there were no homes, you know, it's like, so they like that type of vibe. But when we went to St. Anne, we realized that the population increased as well. You have hotels so people can now find somewhere to stay, and we were now able to do a 2-day festival because in St. Elizabeth there were no hotels, well, not many I should say, hotels to accommodate persons. And when we were leaving St. Elizabeth, as a matter of fact, we did a research where persons said that, you know, this show is long, we love it, we love the music, but it's too short, we need 2 days. So we moved to St. Anne to accommodate all of that. And since we've been there, it has been awesome.
It's a beautiful, so you have the highway, and it's a beautiful venue, which is well appointed, and how you guys say, so I'm now a convert. I'm now a convert.
Siobhan, last year was your first year on the festival, right?
It was my first year doing my music.
How did it go for you, and what do you plan to give us on this year's festival?
Most I can say is pure magic. Pure magic. That's the thing for me this year. I mean, from last year, giving just pure magic, like bringing my best all the time, being my best all the time. And the set felt really great in rehearsal.
So would you describe your music as now?
Magic, pure magic.
Pure magic.
Straight like
if you said magic one more time, we're going to have to perform some of the magic.
Ready to perform from yesterday. But yeah, for real though, it's just a whole heap of soul. Jamaican of course, but just a whole heap of soul and pure magic, like straight up. That's what I can call it.
Jayuda, where can we get tickets for Rebel Salute? Where are the outlets?
Well, if you haven't bought your tickets already, which I'm assuming everybody would have, but if you haven't, you can go to Fontana Island-wide. You can come to our office at Organic Heart in Pembroke Hall. You can check Me Hungry, Wholesome Food. They have tickets as well.
Right?
Yes, in Marketplace. And if you don't want to leave your house, you can go online, go to ticketpal.com. or firstinlineja.com or spuropen.com and purchase your tickets there. Or you can wait until the night of the show, but buy tickets now.
I was with everything that you say, I fully endorse, but I'm going to suggest that you don't bother wait until the night of the show. Just go there with everything in place. Follow the instructions for parking, everything. Really and truly, especially with the recent experience and the discussions that we've been having about, I believe, an important part of our economy, the creative industry, and the performances and the sessions. But you guys have gotten it right. Certainly, the new venue speaks for itself, and I never mind a little bit of the rusticness when it was in St. Elizabeth.
Yes.
So please get your tickets early and follow the instructions when you get there.
Make sure you sing a line.
Before I'm sing a line though, where can you be found on social media?
I can be found at CHEVAUGHNMUSIC. That's Chevron Music everywhere. It's in my Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Spotify, of course. Streaming up here, so give thanks for that.
30 seconds of the magic.
Oh, kisses in the moonlight, sugar, that will make this night complete. So you got to be there. Rebel Salute Friday night. I'll be there live. Make sure you follow it.
They can't miss it.
You see, if I didn't try that now, this is, you'd have had ticket refunds like, whoa, but I won't try. Looking forward to it, and we'll talk again afterwards. Keep doing what you guys have been doing.
Thank you,
Thank you. Rebel Salute.
Yes.
Salute. We go to the break. More CVM at Sunrise when we come back.
Don't know what we gon' do. Bills to clear my bills, and another 6 mil for make my dreams come true. Got some mouths to feed, and the little me make ya know that it won't do me need it. Ya know say I don't wanna steal it. Oh mama, it would be a disgrace on you, but I'm losing my faith, ya know. Oh, you feel it. Oh, the struggle real, better believe it. Oh, 5 months now on the rent done due. I don't know what we gon' do. Right now, me need $1 million. Better yet, quintillion. Want own me island like Gilligan. Royal treatment, my family receive Cavani and the Queen of the Caribbean. Nothing minimal. Every ghetto youth want to be the man. Simmer like Beanie Man. Run robot from Portmore to Pavilion. Still give thanks for the liquor in a Fimian. Oh, now. This is a man's world. This is a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing, nothing without a woman or a girl.
Go ahead, go ahead.
For many Jamaicans, they are often left confused about the division of gender roles and appearance within our society. What type of stigma may be attached to a young man with bleached skin, wearing tight-fitting garments, or even sporting multiple piercings? These are all questions we explore to seek, as we seek to define masculinity. Joining us on set are Donovan Watkins, entrepreneur and philanthropist, O'Shane Grant, president of the UWI Guild of Students, and Granville Knight, chairman of the UTech Student Council. Gentlemen, welcome to CVM at Sunrise.
Thank you. I should say welcome back, because we've had only person that's not yet been a co-host is Granville, but you've been regular guests and co-hosts on the program.
Yes.
I'm the newbie.
Welcome back. What's masculinity? Donovan?
Sorry, me?
Yeah.
Masculinity is a cultural construct as we know it, where we adopt systems and beliefs to act out our manhood. That's something that is developing. It's something that what it was in 1965, it's not what masculinity is today, because it's closely linked to the needs of society. So there was an industrial era where to be a man you had to be rough and you had to work hard and all that. But as technology evolved and the systems get easier, for want of a better word, men are playing softer roles. So there's not that need for man to be rough again. There's not that societal need for man to be you know, big boots and all that. So masculinity is evolving in a more tender, a more harmonious way with gentleness.
O'Shane?
Gentleness. If you look on what the persons who are considered to be the masters in the area of study, they'll say that masculinity have to do with the prescribed gender roles that you expect for a man to carry out, and then normally ascribe these based on sex, not so much based on gender. So if your biological construct says that you look like a man, then you're expected to behave in a particular way, and those expected stereotypes define what is it that masculinity is supposed to be. So But it is something that has evolved and changed over particular times, and even within our cultural space. Not all of Jamaica have the same definition or have the same attributes as to what masculinity will be or how masculinity is constructed. Because again, they tell you that gender is a social construct, so it's something that is fluid, something that changes. So in that same definition, that same space is the same thing for masculinity. When you look on the definition of masculinity, definition of femininity, those things are things that will change based on the time, based on what the person individual is feeling. So
we should point out before we come to Granville that your area of studies as a master's student at the University of the West Indies is?
I am doing my master's in gender and development studies.
Gender and development studies,
right,
which occasioned laughter from my co-host speaking about stereotypes and changing roles, because a point that Donovan often makes is that when there's a discussion about gender, people interpret it based on the narrative about feminism and pushing a female-centric agenda rather than an appreciation of the roles of, right.
But feminism has nothing to do with gender. Feminism is seeking equality among the sexes. It is not seeking equality among the genders, because you have a vast amount of gender.
Which is the point.
What we're going into now, and we'll see it especially this year. This year is the year of the woman. Watch. Remember, I tell you this now. It's no better time for
like the last
a woman
99 years.
No, this year in particular. I'm telling you. You see Oprah leading it. Time's up. That time's up narrative is more than just the toxic masculinity. You're going to see women taking leadership roles in every sphere of life. Whether the men are kicked out or they are just becoming, unless they become harmonious with that tenderness, that will be the narrative going forward, will be the dominant going forward, men are going to be obsolete. And technology is driving that, because as I tell you, the jobs that are necessary now are not the ones that require rigorous work.
Let me
traditionally
bring Granville here at this point. There's a word that has not yet been used, and I'm going to throw that word out to you: generation. O'Shane and Donovan spoke about the evolution. But as societies evolve, people from other periods in society are still alive. So older Jamaicans will always hold on to what they either call the good old days or tradition, or a combination of both. Do you think that the definition of masculinity differs among the different generations still alive within society?
That's definitely a yes. If we look at what exists, the term itself, I mean, we live in a very dynamic generation. Everything has more than one meaning. So, but then first and foremost, to be masculine, you must have been a male. Right? So there are some who still hold that belief. But in the 21st century, we know that, as our co-host rightly said, the term has evolved to more than just being a male. And it's not only limited to the roles and functions, right? No, we can have masculine traits, and it is said that females have masculine traits as well as males have feminine traits, right? But at the baseline, it goes down back again to the rules and functions, because you can look like a man, but you won't necessarily act like a man. And I think that's where we have the problem, man. Should this be the year of the female, it's because men fail to be masculine, that is, playing the roles and function, not only described by society, but also by genetics.
The genetics,
and nobody wants to say Bible?
Whatever it is, whether it's biblical, genetics, whatever it is, if masculinity should evolve and have a place and remain relevant, the idea of man has to define himself as the person who has the ability to make a sacrifice to take care of his family, to be vulnerable, to do things and invent things that don't exist yet, to be the leaders of industries that include women and include taking care of your children. The narratives of men in the 80s, there are a lot of men that just left them pitting like turtle. A whole lot of men just had kids and walked away. Where did that come from as a man? Where did that come from to just deal with your child in a rough way instead of hug him or hug her and kiss her? You know, a lot of men can't do that. I know men right now in their 50s where if their child, let alone their wife, come to hug them or kiss them, they cry.
Right.
Because that was not part of their masculine development. And if we're going to go forward and evolve masculine, especially in Jamaica here, because we have our office that is pushed through dancehall culture. we have a rough narrative for men. Bad man not do this, bad man not do that. What does bad man do?
Right.
Bad man don't do nothing. Like there's nothing, I never hear one say, bad man do this. It's always bad man don't do this.
There is one, and as you mentioned dancehall, there's one that said bad man forward, bad man pull out.
But I never hear say bad man take care of them people.
No, because
I never hear say bad man take care of the women in the society. I never hear say bad man, you know, do the narrative of bad man, which bad man is synonymous with masculinity in the dancehall. When an artist say bad man do this, he's really saying men don't do this. So we have also come to learn that a bad man is a man, which is not true. A good man is a man.
Right.
You know, so those narratives need to be exposed and do away with for what they are, and evolve the construct of masculinity in Jamaica, because it's closely linked to crime too, you know. It's closely linked to crime. Even the good fathers who would tell their children, be a man. That's hurtful to a boy. Allow him to be a boy and grow up.
Donovan, allow me to throw a hook in this. I think a great concern for our viewers and for the society is the physical expression of masculinity as well, which is very different from being masculine. So I'm going to give a Cambridge Dictionary definition of a word that some of us don't love, and it's metrosexual. A man who is attracted to women sexually, but who is also interested in fashion and his appearance. I know. I throw it in there because a lot of this is tying into, so people are piercing their ears, people are wearing tight jeans. In the workplace now, everybody's clothes is more fitted than they can even breathe. So, well, comment on that for me.
Outside of being someone that is doing a master's in gender, my first degree is in history and another degree in gender as well. All of this is something that is cultural. So because how we're colonized for a long time, and then we conform to the Victorian way of thinking, Victorian way of dress, even this very Victorian. So then when you pierce your ear, then it's not Victorian. And then because of colonization, we believe that all of these things is just going to change overnight. If you do anything that is outside of that box, then automatically something is wrong with you. And then they define what a man is supposed to, and how a man is supposed to look. Victorian society says a man is not supposed to pierce his ear. But if you look on the Amerindians, they pierce their ears. A number of persons say that, I want to go back to Africa. I'm African, but African men pierce their ears.
But then, Granville, and listening to O'Shane speak about the outward manifestations of it, doesn't that reinforce stereotypes and try to extend the non-fluid aspect of how societies evolve if we still identify these outward manifestations rather than probably how Donovan espouses it, things of the core that should exude from individuals who care for a family, care for society, and care for national development?
Most definitely. But as we said, you see, he speaks about a man, but society also defines, because society knows that there's a difference, there is something different happening within our sphere. So there's a term, real men, right? And I think that, yes, for some, based upon our religious beliefs, not just our history, but based upon our religious beliefs, there are certain things that should remain for the females, while certain things should remain as for men. We shouldn't wear tight pants, we shouldn't wear piercings, etc. Nonetheless, as we read the outline, masculinity has more to do with the roles and functions. And these roles and functions are not just limited to being a father, but also it embodies those emotions and be able to express those emotions and also to facilitate the expression of those emotions by those that we associate with.
I want to address the close thing.
Quickly.
So this is survival, right? This is this external garment. We wear it so that we look non-threatening to the quote-unquote powers that be. In truth, if we were in Africa, we would wear something long, and if we were in Dubai, we wear the
and there were no pants in the Bible.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's survival. The masculinity, part of masculinity is survival.
Right. I'm going to close by introducing the concept of the continuum. Starts here and just continues to the other point. And we are going to have to continue this conversation online and elsewhere in the virtual space. We are up on a break. When we come back, Mr. Vegas, more CVM at Sunrise when we come back. back to CVM at Sunrise. He's no stranger to us here at CVM at Sunrise. Clifford Smith, I know, who that? Mr. Vegas is here to give us the latest on what's been happening with him. Welcome back to CVM at Sunrise, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, man. All the best for the 28th.
Yeah, where you get those additional names from all of a sudden?
Well, of course, you know, people give your name every day, and it's Jamaica, this, you know, so you get additional name all the time.
What's
but
up?
Mr. Vegas basically was from a cousin of mine from early years. Playing soccer and just, he's the worst soccer player, so worst football player, so you know, say, them just basically say, yo, you play like a Las Vegas dancer. So. But everything good, man.
Get all of the talent, then.
Right. But everything good. We're here, you know, we're here working, you know, I just came back from Europe, Dubai, Qatar, and we're here now, you know, with the dancers, them, just doing road.
Yeah.
You understand? Because I love that side of the music where we can entertain people, you know, especially with dancing, like Teko Yourself and Raging Bull and Galley Swing and them dance moves. I just enjoy that side of the music where people, you just see people having fun. You know, it's like Elephant, Panda River, Signal playing, you know, the whole Bogle movement. You know, I really enjoy that side of the music. You understand? It's just, and it's good for exercise and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's why we have people like Blacker the Dancer down here, he's from New York City, but he's like deep in the culture, you know, Jamaican parents and stuff like that. So he travels the world, and I link up with Blacker and we just say, you know what, we want to get the youth, them dancing, you know, ding dong doing it, you know, we need some more of it, because we see the joy when people doing it, especially when the ladies them doing it, if the dance move not too hard.
Right.
Because some of the dance moves them complicated, make my foot them tie up.
And we don't do complication very well at CVM at Sunrise. So we're going to introduce Blacker now, and you want to tell the viewers a little bit more. You said that he's deep in the culture. His parents are from here.
Right.
All right.
Well, as I said before, you know, like you have people like Blacker the Dancer, Latanya, and these people. You know, they basically tour the world. You know, this is Blacker the Dancer.
Welcome, Blacker.
Welcome.
Yeah. Tour the world.
In Jamaica?
No, sir.
I've been here for 10 years now.
Okay, good. Yeah. You're saying, Vic?
Right, so basically these guys just tour the world and just, you know, bring our culture to the world. You know, sometimes, you know, you sit down and see some dancers here in Jamaica and you might be wondering what's going on with the dancing. But these dancers tour the world and teach the, you know, people classes and stuff like that. And Russia, you know, go to Russia right now, they have like major dancing school going on. Italy, all over the place.
As you mentioned that they go all over the world and Jamaicanize through dance. Sometimes they come here. There's if you're ever driving to Bogwalk, I know the toll road makes it a little bit more convenient to go elsewhere. But just as you exit the gorge on the left, many times there are all these Germans and Chinese and Russians participating in a dance class, which they book sometimes months in advance just to come to have that authentic experience. So you're going to show the viewers some of the authentic experiences you export across the globe with respect to Jamaican dance.
Blacker, before you dance, tell us about the program quickly. The program you're doing here.
Well, I started a dance program a year ago today, actually, for children, and it's called the Little Dancer Program. And right now I have about 50 children from the ages of 2 to 6 at the St. Martin de Porres Basic School in Gordon Town, St. Andrew. And the point of the program is to allow children to learn dancehall at a young age. So in the future, they can do what I do. They can travel around the world for a living as a dancehall instructor. And I want to hire the local dancehall dancers to go into the school system and teach. And I hope that this program can be copied around the world. And now that makes dancehall more educational, more respected, and hopefully can get more support by the local government and government overseas.
I like it.
And it changes the narrative as well, Vegas.
That's what I was just going to say, because I was listening to one of your guests earlier on, and he was saying basically dancehall, you know, basically promotes badness and stuff like this, and we have to be very careful.
Not all dance.
You understand what I'm saying? Because that is not really dancehall, you know.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? That's like a whole different thing.
Right.
Dancehall is entertainment. You understand? That is what we do. We entertain people. Even if you see a girl dancing and winding up and stuff like that, that is something coming all the way from Africa. It's just we Jamaican people now, you know, because we get too religious now, we see a girl dancing and we say, oh, she's going to hell. But all these things coming from Africa, if you do your research, read up about Kemet, what them call Egypt now, you realize a lot of these things coming from
the point. We're not supposed
West
to know
Africa
this.
and all of these things. You know, so dancehall is not what you know, your guest, you know, was saying that it's all about badness.
Yeah.
That's not dancehall. Dancehall is entertainment.
All right, so we're going to try and put as much time together for
Show them the dance. Show them the
Before we actually go to the dance, let me close out the show, because something tells me that what's going to happen for the next few minutes, we won't be able to interrupt it to close out the show. So let me thank all our guests for passing through. Thanks to my co-host Mario for being here again. And thanks to the viewers for watching. The professionals are going to dance,
Raymond,
which means that I'm going to be center stage. I'm kidding. Over to you, Blacker.
Okay, so this dance move is called Follow the Leader.
Enough of them don't snipe, but they don't know about dance, cause them a idiot. Come follow the leader, the dance like hot. Catching at the school bus and out of the bus stop. Enough of them don't snipe, but they don't know about dancing. Them a idiot. Follow the leader, they say the dance like hot. Any which party play, the party can't flop. Bang it! La 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 la. Roll out the dancing crew. Nobody no more than you. La 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 la. As a because stepping on your dancing shoe. Ravens, feel like when we pass through. Action. 1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder. 1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder. Dance a step and rock your shoulder. Follow the leader.
Just a dancer.
1, 2 step, then
nice.
1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder. Dance a step and rock your shoulder.
Part 2, we step away. Step away, 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 step away. Everybody can dance. Nice.
Elite dancer, step away,
Step away,
step away, step away,
step away. 1, 2 step and rock your shoulder.
1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder. One in the ear, can you not carry?
Nice.
1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder.
I see you putting your style and flavor in it.
1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder. Follow the leader, can you not carry order? Follow the leader.
And now, Panama.
Shakespeare is a band leader. Big up Marvin and Nikisha. Don't sit by your buster dance. From the whole world, I do it to get the visa.
Yeah.
Boys in a visa. But we sign a GE. Kiss, kiss, session.
Nice. Don't stop now. Don't do that in the middle of a party. You got your whole week's workout right now, right? Hey, show them Jamal. Graphic, Solomon, Nico.
Dance and step, rock your shoulder. You not carry no order. 1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder. 1, 2 step and rock your shoulder. Dance and step and rock your shoulder. And in the ear, can you not carry order? Two for them don't slide, but them don't know about dance. Cause them a idiot. Come follow the leader, the dance like that. Catching at the school bus and out of the bus stop. No for them don't slide, but them don't know about dancing. Them a idiot. Follow the leader, me say the dance like that. Any which party play, the party can't flop.
All right, good job. I might have to bring you guys on tour with me.
One of the reasons why I decided to close out the show before the dance, because I wasn't sure.
No for them don't strike, but they don't know about dance. Cause them a idiot. Come follow the leader, the dance like that. Catching at the school bus and out of the bus.
On a very kind. Hold on a second. You actually admitted that on air. It took you 2 days.
No, you're lucky. I know I don't catch half of the dance in the bill. So that for me, that's why I know the dance is hot.
Right.
Because if I can do it, everybody can do it. Trust me.
You know what big I said?
If I can, it's easy. It's just
international performer.
1, 2, 1. Hey, just put up your hands up.
1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder.
Man. Then rock your shoulder. 1, 2 step, then rock your shoulder. Dance a step and rock your shoulder. And in the ear, can we praise ya over ya? Step away, step away, step away. Step away, step away, step away. Every dancer starts step away. Follow the lead.